with all the events that are taking place, everything that we've been discussing, that's coming out every day with this counter coup, this what a counter coup. I can't even keep track anymore. Are we here in the United States? Are we undergoing basically the second American Revolution? I mean, is this akin to what we experienced in the original American colonies? Melanie, what do you think?
Yes, absolutely. I think we're examining who we are as a country and who we are as human beings. And I think who we thought we were as a country, a lot of the propaganda and the history we've been fed is turning out not to be reality. And thank God for the internet, because we can start to really examine things from multiple perspectives and see if what we say and what we do are in alignment. And whenever there's a discord, all kinds of crazy things happen. You live in a world of lies. Of course, you're going to get wars and people that can't trust each other, and lives that are miserable because we're just working so hard just to survive, to support other forces out there. So it's another revolution. It's more than just the country. I think it's happening globally. I think we're analyzing what's happening here in the States, but now we're seeing how the tentacles relate to every other country. So maybe the revolution will go beyond another American revolution, and we're going to see this global revolution. And maybe we can see beyond races and gender and country border lines and all that. I'm ready to get rid of all of that and just go back to the basics. Like, we're all human beings, and what does that mean? And how do we create a positive life experience for all living things?
Exactly. Josh, back in the original American colony days of the late 1700s, the American Revolution was one of the first dominoes that fell, that caused many other revolutions all throughout Europe. And Melanie, you talked about that it's not just an American Revolution; it's a global one. Do you think, though, Josh, that in America, because of the freedoms that we have been afforded, that we do have a greater responsibility in a sense of this transition?
I believe that we all have the responsibility, because no matter how free and amazing we may think that we are, we may not have the physical craziness and destruction in our backyards, but we definitely have it inside of us, whether it be in our mind or in our bodies, because we're definitely very polluted and unhealthy. And which is better? I don't know. Yeah, we can walk outside and not have to worry about getting shot or necessarily be walking over trash or some of these things, but we are just as much a slave as any other country is, and just as anybody from our past ever was. We have to remember, when this country became a corporation, there was a corporate plan, and they had a 100-year agenda plus, and those agendas have been followed. And the debts that we had to the Queen of England and to the Vatican have been paid, and are being paid currently. They own our social security numbers. They own our being, not our soul, but they do own the being that we all claim, our corporate fiction. And so we're all in the same position. There's 26 countries that operate on the same social security system that we do. So there are 26 countries of persons that are not flesh and blood human beings and do not have the rights of our Constitution or theirs, because every one of those 26 countries is a corporation registered under the U.S. UCC code. So, yeah, we all have that responsibility. And I think what's happening now is we are in the paradigm shift. Information is global. We're coming to better understandings of things. We're eliminating theories for facts. And even if you look at cryptocurrencies, we have a monetary system that we can be completely in control over. The blockchain is an uncorruptible, unhackable system. So even though the bankers are trying to gain control of that system, for example, Ripple, at any moment, we have that power to drop everything and end them and go to something else that we do like. And we've always had that power. And I just think we are finally coming to the point where we are going to understand that. And once we get to the point where the greater number really does understand that, is when we're going to have to really be watching our backs, because they are going to take whatever final push to try and maintain any sort of power they have or had.
They will. Yeah, I think the revolution it's all about information now. And so we got to get information out about our food, about how our education system has been usurped, about history, science, all that. So I think the fire that needs to be lit under us, it's not going to be the same as going out to the street on our horses with muskets and all that. It's going to be about information and getting people's minds clear and getting them clear and making sense about how we fit into history, and encouraging people to have more of a bird's eye view, like a 200 year perspective, or 2000 or 26,000 year perspective, like what direction we want to go, as opposed to being dumbed down and being a cog in a wheel and being disempowered and just being controlled over and over. So I think it's more than just, getting away from England and creating our own country. It's about information. It's about empowerment, and it's about ultimately enlightenment.
Absolutely. Josh, with the media being so anti-Trump, and it's just a constant barrage on mainstream media to villainize him, and if he is a guy who is working to take down the criminal cabal, when these indictments become unsealed, and some of these are some of the biggest names in the world, especially some on the opposing side of the political table, right? Do you foresee that this American revolution may end up on the streets when this happens, and that because of the paradigm that so many are under, that all the world's problem, it comes from Donald Trump, that if he's trying to arrest Hillary Clinton, that must mean this is some evil dark, this must be all lies, because how could a guy like Donald Trump tell the truth? What do you foresee?
I think we definitely have the potential to see what we've seen in the past, because I personally don't give the history that we've been given on any other tyrant on this planet any sort of 100% validity whatsoever. I just hope that people don't really continue the hate that is the agendas that are being put forth. Just for example, everybody was upset that Trump wanted to end the FDA and the EPA and the national monuments and all these things that are good, like DACA. And man, we all want the same things. Yes, we want our planet protected. Yes, we want to be as green as possible. Yes, we want everybody to have the same opportunities. Yes, we want everybody fed and healthy. Yes, we don't want to be eating and drinking chemicals and breathing chemicals and all these harmful toxins. But we have to definitely come to the understanding that everything that was ever put out through our government to be something good had loopholes, back doors, agendas tied into those things. On top of, if you really read any of these things and you understand legalese, the legal language used in contract, the things that the skin of the grape, we are only looking at that. There is so much inside of that grape that we don't understand. And all those things had to be ended and changed to be corrected. Because it's like all the years I did protest, I don't protest anymore. I'm not going to the streets and going to scream for anything. You know how many people took their PTOs or their vacation time to come out and just be a part of it? That's great. But unless you're stopping these gears from turning, nothing is changing. You have got to cut off their money flows. So What was the original question?
The original question is, will this Trump hatred equate to violence in the streets?
If we don't become aware of those things, and we keep hating and letting this division come in between us, yeah, it very well could. I hope that doesn't happen. And I'm definitely not waiting for that, because I spent way too long waiting for martial law and FEMA camps and all those things to happen already. I'm not waiting anymore. I'm taking action locally myself, and I hope that we can all do that, and realize that, you know, we just want the same things.
Yeah.
And so I hope it doesn't, but it definitely has the potential to. So hopefully we can correct the media, really get more facts out there. Hopefully all these actors get fired and we put some real journalists in place, because it's nothing but a movie set. What you see isn't what you get.
Which is why it's about, it's kind of a spiritual term, but rising above duality, why that is so important. And people like me, you know, I voted Democrat, and then I voted for Jill Stein, and now people are calling me a Trump lover and Trump supporter. And now I'm getting like this terrible wrath of like the whole Trump movement. And it's like, no, I didn't sign up for any of that. I figured out that the whole political system is junk. It's broken. There's no point to protesting in the streets and all that. I won't do that either. We're beyond that. And so now we have to talk about solving real problems. And I look at it like, if our teacher in school was to give us a group project and the three of us had to solve a problem, like, should we build this bridge or something? We're going to look at it like, well, what is in the best benefit of the people, and how much money do we have? You know, it's a logical problem. It's something we can address. But if we're like, well, you're on that team and you're on that team and everybody on that team is this, we're just being silly and childlike. And so to me, everything changes when we can help people see beyond the duality of everything, of blue and red and the parties. And so I think it's a bit of an extra responsibility from people like me who didn't vote for Trump to speak out and say, hey, this isn't about Trump. This is about, we are being lied to, and we've been lied to for so long. And there are pieces coming into place that are indicating that there is a attempt to expose this truth and to create a whole different reality that we all need to get behind. It has nothing to do with the team or anything. Right. So I am nervous, because I know how powerful the media is. I know how they've been demonizing Trump for so long. And I know that he's a player in this big theater, and he's going to be an important player. And if the tables turn and Hillary goes to jail, and now they're making Trump to be a villain, you know, I'm going to have to speak even louder, and I'm going to have to do my best to make even more sense of things and say, you know, this goes beyond this guy. You know, we really need to get our lives in order. We need to get our food healthy and all the things that I want to change. We all want this stuff. Well, that happens when we can see beyond these silly games that the media and Hollywood and all this garbage has been feeding us to keep us in this like low IQ state. So it's about information and enlightenment once again.
You know, I feel like a lot of places that these kids are in, any of those that would ever join Antifa or any group, you know, I've been there. I used to believe, I used to use the language they use. I used to tell people I'm an anarchist or this or that. I used to be a Democrat. I hated Republicans, evil people. I've been through all of that. And I think a lot of us have that, you know, are continuing to speak out. And I always say, you know, I'm done. I'm not arguing anymore. And I'm not arguing anymore. But I can't get away, because I just see the idiocracy. And
we can't help
I'm sympathetic and empathetic to people for that. It's not their fault. They've been conditioned all their life to all this crap, you know, and not everybody is a very adventurous person. There really are just average people with average routines that just do average things and, you know, only get what's being told to them. They don't go dig and read and research and put themselves in these life experiences that give them that different perspective. So once something crazy happens, and more crazies happen that open up this truth, that bottleneck opens that up, you know, we might be surprised. People are going to be dumbfounded, just like any of us that dove down that rabbit hole and started seeing something more and something more. There's something called the God consciousness, the super consciousness, and only truth can penetrate that. So we just know, you know when something, you know when you know, and you can look back and be like, but I used to think I knew too, and I realize now I don't. But that shit led you to where you're at right now. So we're always going to have to break through these things. Like I said, we'll constantly be flushing theories down the toilet because it doesn't connect with everything else. It's like I have people come, oh, I can't believe you believe all these conspiracies about Trump. I'm like, didn't we talk a couple years ago about how you believe in aliens? You know, we all have these hypocrisies and contradictions going on. We really need to take a look at what we say we believe in. We need to take a look at the language that we're using, what we're calling people. I didn't vote Trump. I don't vote anymore until we're on some blockchain voting system that is 100% transparent. I'm not wasting my time. And so, yeah, we'll figure it out.
Well said.
We will.
Yeah, and I think we are, and I think that we are experiencing a new revolution here in the United States, and that, like you had mentioned, Melanie, that's really spilling out into the world. And it's so funny because it's been a digital revolution more than anything, and because of this tool that fell off the back of some military van and spilled off the side of the road, and the local villagers picked it up and brought it home, and it was the internet, and that was the tool that's going to free us all. And even though it has been used, of course, to subvert us and to brainwash us and to everything, like Melanie had mentioned about duality, everything has duality to it, and it's this. I really do believe this black and white thinking is part of what needs to be broken, and that the world really is huge shades of gray, and that maybe really there are some guys who've done some pretty shitty crimes in their past and have not always acted in the most ethical and moral ways, but maybe they aren't child killers, and they want to take child killers out, and there's different degrees of gangsters out there in the world. It's like trying to say that Vladimir Putin is some savior to the world. I mean, it's not what we're saying, but the guy does, when he talks, especially from in regards to the global scene, he just speaks truth. I mean, especially the last however many years. I mean, he and how he got to power. Of course, there's some shady stuff involved, shady details, ain't no doubt. I really do believe the whole world is a group of gangsters who operate in gangster rules, and some of them are more evil than others.
If you try to go through this world and get far ahead, if you want to be a Putin or a Trump or somebody, right, all you're going to realize is that there's a crap ton of red tape, and that your perceived conditioned thought process on going about doing things the right way, you're going to realize those things aren't going to get you there. You're not going to cross that line to those other places. Like in the archaeology world, if we find something amazing, and we're sitting on hundreds of sites that could pull enough gold and treasure and things to make this the richest country on the planet, no problem. And there's no way to cross that. There's no way for us to just go open it up. They're watching it. They're sitting on it. You can't do things honestly the way that you would want to or think that you would. You're just going to hit those brick walls that are going to stop you from that. So, like any actor, any musician that's ever come up in the business and moved forward, in the beginning, they signed a contract. Didn't think anything of it. My career's beginning. I've got the wealth that I've always wanted, whatever. I'm famous, whatever. But as you go further down in your career, you realize, or further up, that nothing is as you thought you perceived it,
Seems like everything has a shadow, and the brighter the light that we're chasing after seems to have a darker shadow, and goes back to transcending that. And I think when we use the word belief, I think we're almost getting ourselves sucked back into another box, so I don't even use that word. And even with these questions, I was like, well, they're all maybe, like I want to observe the various boxes around me and avoid ever getting sucked into any of those beliefs. Just stay as flexible as possible.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that's what an intellectual conversation is always that what we seemingly think is truth is only temporal, and it's in seemingly right now it's true, like Josh was saying earlier, but as your universe expands, it's almost like, oh, geez, well, only part of that was actually, connected to the whole thing. And it's okay. I mean, if you just have if you operate under the pretense of, hey, I might be wrong and I'm always open to further truth and light, then cool, man, we can just roll forth. And this whole two-party paradigm that we live in can be crumbled, and ultimately this two-party paradigm comes down to a collectivism versus an individualism. And why do we have to choose between but one or the other? That's just asinine to me. And I think that this Republican, Democrat, liberal, conservative thing has been ruined because we've tried to create a collective model at a national level of 300 million people, which is absolutely ridiculous. And that's why that's way too much power for any human being. And hell, even us three right now, who I've been around both of you enough to know that you have good hearts and you have good intentions on the world. But even if you and me were held the checkbook to billions and billions of dollars, you never know, man. And it's just, we should never be putting people in these situations to begin with. And that's the world we want to create in the future. One that's transparent through these technologies like blockchain that can keep things transparent. Like, and we were talking about WikiLeaks, a transparent media source. Transparency is going to be a good thing and a thing of the future that these revolutions are going to bring forth. And I'm really excited about it and glad to be part of this with two other fellow patriots, baby.
Definitely.
Thank you guys for coming on. We're going to do this again, and with so many topics we'll keep unfurling. And Melanie and Josh, Melanie-Fisher, check her out on Facebook. She's already has 1 million people following her because they love her commentary on things. Josh Lawrence, check him out. And Josh is always sharing some amazing content that goes deep down the rabbit hole, and both of you guys share such an intellect and a depth to you, but also it's backed up by the other side. You guys are both two people who see the inner journey and see the value in it. You see that the solutions are going to come from our communities, and you're doing it actively right now. I mean, Josh is he's helping with food production and the selling of local produce in the New Mexico area. Melanie is getting deep into sound healing and helping with these alternative methods of healing that have been kept from us from this Western model. And please, so check them out, and we will be back again with another roundtable. Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Thank you,
brother. Thank you, guys.